Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to do a part 2 of what happened to our dad, on what life was like after he passed and how we got through such a devastating time. So initially, after dad passed, we all grieved and handled the loss in different ways, and we respected each other's grieving process. For the most part, we grieved together, but of course we had our moments of solo grief. But no one isolated themselves. We did not allow that, because isolating yourself through grief can be a very dangerous situation. We were just very open about what we needed through the process, and we respected each other's process, what each other preferred. We didn't push our process on the other person. We allowed them to grieve in their way while we grieved in our own way, and then supported and loved each other through it, and never made each other feel weak for expressing ourselves or for grieving in a different way than the next person. Mom intentionally spent alone time with each of us. And this alone time was not planned, like, okay, since today is your day that we're going to talk about your dad. It wasn't like that. It was more organic, and maybe she would get me alone in the kitchen, or TJ alone in the basement, or a car ride. All throughout the process, and even to this day, we have our alone time to express ourselves, to talk about it, to share, to feel. And she just took advantage of the time that she had with us, even if it was just a couple of minutes, to organically talk through things and express ourselves, and to check in with us and see where we were. And those conversations helped us, and also helped her as well, because she is able to express herself and talk through things with us too. Sometimes as a family we would talk, and if it ever got too much for somebody, maybe it was just not a good day for you to be talking about it, or you were not in the mental state to handle the conversations or to have discussions about dad, we had our own code of phrases that we used and still use to this day, that we know somebody is tapped out, somebody can't handle the conversation right now, and either the conversation stops or the person removes themselves from the situation, and everyone respects it, and they're not forced to continue on through the conversation. One of the most valuable things my mom would tell us back then, and even now going through anything, is take it one day at a time. And when that's too much, take it 1 hour at a time. When that's too much, take it 1 minute at a time. And when that's too much, take it 1 second at a time. Because something that was very overwhelming for me was thinking about the future days, years, months to come without dad. The life events that he would miss, and how would this look, and how would we do this, and what's going to happen to this. And thinking like that is unbearable, it's devastating, it's shattering, it's overwhelming. It's enough to bring you to your knees and get swallowed up in grief. But when you take it 1 day at a time, or 1 second at a time, or 1 moment at a time, you have the strength to get through just that moment. You don't have the strength or the mental capacity to get through years down the line that haven't even happened yet, and let God handle the future. Let those days and years to come work themselves out as they come. So we stayed at grandma's house for 3 weeks after dad passed away, and of course during that time we had the memorial and the funeral, and then we went back home. I remember feeling scared to go back home before we went back home, because it's scary to think about going there without him. Less than a month ago he was there, alive and well, and I'm sure my siblings felt the same way. We had friends, church members, some of our relatives come over and spend time with us at grandma's house, and it was nice to be around loved ones and have a sense of normalcy in a situation that was not normal. So while we were at grandma's house for the 3 weeks, the support was through the roof. During church services, people were coming out of the woodworks, calls, texts, foods, promises being made about the future, telling us they would do this and they would do that, and all of that was amazing. During the 3-week period, you just feel so uplifted with so much support. But as most people know who have been through tragedies, the support quickly fades, and people do not keep those promises that they make when you're going through, and they expect you, the people who are grieving, to be the ones to initiate and reach out and to let them know what they need. And the reality set in for us that this was our new life. He wasn't coming back. We would not see him again in this lifetime. And this was the hardest part about going home. Didn't understand how we could without him, what was going to look like, how we would navigate without him in a house that we all lived in together. and we're used to seeing him every single day in that house. Mom packed up and cleaned up a lot of his things over time, and at the time I didn't know how or when she did it, but recently she shared with me that she had gone back to our house every single day during the 3-week period that we were at Grandma's house for several hours while we had guests or distractions, and she would take out his toothbrush and move some of his things. She rearranged the furniture so we could come back in the house to look a little bit different. She removed the rug that had that spot of blood and vomit on it. Removed his daily items that he used every day, shoes, slippers, things like that. All so that when we got home, we wouldn't be bombarded with the devastation of seeing all of that. She did this alone. And what's even sadder is that she had to be bombarded with the devastation of seeing all of that all by herself, taking it out, removing it. She also told me that she would take us all home one by one on random days, which she passed it off like, oh, let's go get a couple outfits real quick, which really it was an opportunity for her to intentionally spend alone time with us, to talk to us and hear from us. And also it was an opportunity for her to get us in and out of the house so that the transition home would be easier for us. I was really scared of going home. So dropping in the house a couple of times before we actually moved back in there definitely made things easier on all of us. He always smelled really good, so she would let us smell some of his clothes so that we could smell him. Life was definitely different and weird in that house without Dad, but we made a decision not to live in fear, not to live in sadness, and to still be able to enjoy life, to be able to be happy and live. Mom did a great job of setting the tone for this, but also did a great job of allowing us to grieve and have our moments and talk through things and to be human and to feel. So like I said, we had a lot of support in the 3 weeks that we were at Grandma's house for the funeral and the memorial and the visits and the calls and the texts and the food and all of that. That faded after the funeral, after we moved back home, after everything settled down, all that faded. And but some people who never, capital never, stopped being present, they never stopped showing up, they never stopped supporting, they never stopped checking on us, is Bishop Ivy and Pastor Bridget Hilliard from Houston, Texas. These are my parents' spiritual parents, which, for those of you who don't know what that means, they are my parents' pastors, because pastors need a pastor. Dad passed away in July, and they flew us out to Houston at the end of August for a few days to stay with them, to just have a change of scenery, to talk through things, to just be of support and to minister to us and care for us. So this was a great recharge for us because it gave us a place to get away and just rest and to just be poured into and loved on. And I remember one of the most pivotal moments for me in my healing process was the day that they set us all down and allowed us to speak out, to share all of the feelings, to share some of the frustration surrounding what happened, the confusion, to ask questions. And they gave us godly wisdom, godly insight on the situation, support, love, encouragement. I remember bawling and crying a lot and just expressing, and I asked why did this happen? And just the way that they were able to share with us and minister to us the answers to our questions the best way that they knew according to the Word of God. I just walked away from that with a new level of healing and a new level of peace. So we stayed in that house that my dad passed in for about 2 years, a little over 2 years. He passed in July of 2007, and we moved in December of 2009, so like a year and 5 months-ish. And we really don't have many memories from the 2-year period that we were living in that house. We can remember some things, but everything is cloudy in that time frame because we were grieving. It was almost like we were living on autopilot. Not that it was a super sad 2 years, completely depressed. It was just, as a family, we have no real memories of that 2 years after Dad passed, living in the same house. We had 2 Christmases in that house, 2 Thanksgivings in that house, birthdays, graduations, proms, and we don't have that many memories. We just don't have the memories. And when we moved, came a whole new level of freedom and healing. I just remember throwing so much stuff away in the move and feeling like, let's just start over fresh, and not feeling tied down to any stuff and just wanting a new start. And that is exactly what happened when we moved. Not that we were trying to erase his memory or forget about him, because we keep his memory alive very much to this day. We just wanted a new start as a new family and to start over new, start over fresh. So once we moved in December 2009, that house that we moved to was where the memories picked back up from. And I remember being told as an individual and as a family how strong we were. And it was so crazy because at the time, I didn't feel strong because I knew how I felt inside and the sadness that I had and the longing for my father, and I just didn't feel strong. Now looking back, I can see how strong I actually was, how strong my siblings were, and definitely how strong my mom was, not because of any strength that we had within ourselves, but because of the strength that God gave us. Something that was so important for us while we were going through the devastation was that we never blamed God for anything. We had our share of confusion, our share of questions, our share of anger even at times, but we never blamed God. We ran to him instead of running away from him. And that is how we were able to heal, to get strength. We just trusted him. Regardless of the bad situation that we were in, we knew that God was still good. So we continued to pray, continued to rely on him. And I know that when we're going through difficult times, sometimes you just feel too weak or too upset to even pray. But we pushed through and we managed to continue to have a relationship with God and to keep him number one. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says that his strength, or his power, as some translations call it, is made perfect in our weakness. And my family witnessed that firsthand. We were living off God's strength because without him, we were a wreck, we were a mess, we were weak. But those years that we were able to live, even the years that we don't have many memories from, God's strength carried us through that time. And it's unrealistic to ask grieving people who are going through devastation to tell you what they need. We don't even know what we need. So we relied on those who showed up, who helped us, who cared for us, who reached out to us, who supported us, which I'm not here to put anybody on blast, but the list of those people who showed up is very tiny. And that's okay, because it is what it is, and that's the reality of most people who go through tough times. But this is why it's so important to put your full dependence and your full reliance on God, because people will fail you, people will let you down, people will disappoint you, but God never does. We stuck together as a family. We were each other's number one after God. We accepted the help that we got and support that we got. One thing that I learned is that time does not heal all. God does. Without him, we'd still be a wreck, broken, we'd still be shattered. We would not have made it through that successfully. Of course, we still have sad moments. We still have to respect each other's feelings and each other's preferences in regards to talking about Dad. Still have to cut conversations off sometimes, or walk away from conversations that we don't have the mental or emotional capacity to endure. We have healed, but we are still human and we still have feelings because we loved our father. My mom loved her husband, and that is okay and that is healthy. But we are whole. We are on the other side of that. Through all of the devastation, we allowed ourselves to grieve. You cannot escape the grieving process. If you don't grieve now, you will grieve later. It's a process. It's not easy. It can be scary, but when you depend and rely on God to hold your hand through the process, you can go through it with grace, with strength, and come out of it completely healed and completely whole, just like we did. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, feel free to reach out to me if you can relate to needing extra support, guidance, encouragement, more insight into our journey and what we went through. I am always open, available, and willing to share more with those who need more.